Good morning. It's Wednesday, December 11th, about 6 a.m. Central Time. Overnight, the precious metals are mixed after pushing to new recent highs in gold, while silver and copper both consolidate. So two big headlines to watch here. First of all, in the stocks, we see the first back-to-back daily losses for the first time since the second week of November, while Bitcoin recovers and yields hold steady, and this is all ahead of today's CPI data. So the November CPI index comes out, the report, at 7:30 a.m. Central Time, and we expect to see an annual headline inflation rate of 2.7%. That's an uptick from October's 2.6%. The month-over-month CPI is set to increase 0.3% in November, and it's also an uptick from October's 0.2% monthly rise. The month-over-month core CPI is expected to be at 0.3%. That's the same as October. So both the CPI and the core CPI are still above the Federal Reserve's 2% target. The progress on inflation has been stalling over the last few months. So that's what we're really focused on here. How does the Fed respond to it? Also, what does the CME's Fed Watch tool, and how do these outside markets, such as stocks, yields, the dollar, the gold market, all take a role and play on this data release here. So looking at the overnight precious metals, the dollar had strengthened. This is kind of the second thing to watch here, are all things China related here. So the dollar strengthened after a report that Chinese leaders are considering allowing their currency to weaken in anticipation of the upcoming tariffs. So the spillover effect on that is you see a weaker New Zealand dollar, a weaker Australian dollar, while the Canadian dollar and also the Swiss National Bank, they're both going to have interest rate decisions here on Wednesday and Thursday. So all these foreign currencies are weakening. It pushes the dollar index up. Those currency moves weigh in on base metals such as copper and iron, and the trickle effect becomes apparent here in your silver, platinum, and aluminum, with them all sliding overnight. So you look at the overnight price action, focusing on the metals sector. First, gold up $7 at $27.26. The low was $27.20. The high was $27.41. So it started to fade off as that Chinese news story took place. And then also perhaps you have some jitters ahead of today's CPI report, with a bit of profit taking after that market has moved so much recently. You've got the silver market trading at $32.55. That's down 19 cents here, with a range of $32.41 on up to $32.88. So call this a bit of consolidating over the last 48 hours here. The gold silver ratios come down to about 83-1. We talked about adding metals here like the silver market when it was up at 87-1. So big push back up here in that silver market, and it's catching up to the gold market a bit. You've got copper down 2 at 425 and platinum down 5 at 943. So looking at the outside markets here, we do have crude oil up 60 cents at 69.23. That's up 3 days in a row here. There's discussions about new curbs on Russian oil. Also, the Chinese stimulus here, they've helped push prices up recently. Again, I tell you to throw up the 100-day moving average. Many of you have positions on in the crude oil market that we're replacing around the mid-60s here. We're going to look to lighten up as we approach that 100-day moving average, 70.44. The mid-60s is your critical level of support. And then you look at the dollar index here. It's moving up. 4 straight days up here on the dollar index. Could break out to the upside, could retest 108. That would be the new contract highs. Bitcoin here is recovering after a 2-day slide with U.S. equities on reports that Microsoft shareholders voted against using cash to add Bitcoin as an asset class. So once that news kind of came out and Bitcoin was selling off into that news, I think perhaps that information had leaked amongst major shareholders there. You see Bitcoin futures sliding, and then all of a sudden you see this relief rally here at Microsoft, and then Bitcoin actually is able to work independently, or it may not be impacted by some more as far as tech companies and big tech companies adding Bitcoin to the balance sheet. So we're seeing a recovery in Bitcoin as well. So it'll be interesting to see if it could recapture 100,000 in today's trading range. And the S&P 500, it's up 6 at 60.52. Look to establish new positions here for many of our clients that are in the December contract, we're going to start looking at that March contract right around 6,100. So pushing on to the CME's Fed Watch tool, you have an 86% chance that the Fed will cut 25 basis points at the December 18th meeting. 1 week ago, that was 78%. So you can see that as we moved on through the previous week, that expectation for the interest rate cut had continued to increase. So that expectation's consolidating as well. Tomorrow we'll have initial claims. We'll also have PPI. Now the key technicals and the data to watch here in the precious metals, as far as what I'm watching, the chart pattern in the gold market, it continues to trend higher with a $100 move in 4 trading sessions. Now remember, to have gold in combination to your silver when you are trading, there are 1,000-ounce silver contracts. There's also 10-ounce gold contracts. So position properly here. Now, when you look at the gold market breaking out above that 50-day moving average, old resistance was the 50-day moving average. Now that's new support at 27.01. The trend reversal point, and this is where we need to close above it, is going to be 27.40. So, and you also want to watch 27.48 because that will have retraced that November 25th high where we dropped $100. So expect to see pocket resistance between 26.40 and 27.40 and 27.48. Today's probable range in the gold market, 27.07 on the downside, 27.48 on the upside. I expect that resistance to really come into play here. So the edges on a break above it, you could see quite a few short sellers start to recover and a lot of stop losses being hit. So 27.74 on the upside and a break back below that 50-day moving average could signal a washout down to 26.93. And I really think that the edges could come into play here with the volatility surge given the CPI. Now, silver has been doing really well. It has shifted to a neutral trend from a bearish trend, and we maintain above yesterday's session, above the 50-day moving average at 32.30. So today's probable trading range, and again, expect to see some volatility in the silver market, 32.32 on the downside and 33.16 on the upside. If we break below that 32.32, we could see a retest of $32. And then on that upside, 33.67 will be your next upside objective on a volatility surge. We did add a lot of options for clients here. We added the 38.5 call spread on the upside on silver, thinking that it could break out to the upside. You want to reach out to us for details on the month that we targeted and the premium that we look to pay. So if you got any questions, give me a call, 312-858-7303. Remember, futures option trading does involve risk of loss, may not be suitable to all investors. Good luck, good trading.